Thank you, Krish, for the wonderful introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you so much to IGSP team for organizing this event, especially Shruti and Shifal, who is not here. For more than one reason, it's an honor to be here. I used to work in Berkeley several years back. I was in administration here. And it was, I think, one of the things that's inspired me to write the book, Building Gold in India. I ended up working with a lot of deans and faculty members across the campus, and I was just inspired by their commitment to student learning outcomes, conducting research, and making an impact to the society and the nation. So a lot of what I have written in my book is now the basis of the nonprofit think tank Nalanda 2.0, and is actually a lot of what you will hear in the presentation actually draws from the book. I probably have about 20 minutes of presentation. I want to keep plenty of time for Q&A. So while I'm presenting, I will not take questions, so hold your questions till the end. That way hopefully I'll answer some of your questions as I'm going through the presentation. So I grew up in India as part of a middle-class family, and right from early childhood, it was very clear to me that education was the only means for me to get ahead in life. My parents were obsessed with education. In fact, I vividly remember my mother in the early childhood time frame making sure I did my homework on time, developed good habits. So it was sort of that background that I grew up in. And much like my experiences, parents and students in India are sort of really committed to education. Parents take loans, sell assets to make sure their students get the best education they can afford or they can buy. So in a society that values education so deeply, one has to ask, why do we, after 70 years of independence, have zero, not one, world-class multidisciplinary research university, much like Berkeley or Stanford or MIT? It has just one university which is ranked in the top 500 of global rankings. Just to give you perspective, US is 146. Singapore, that's 6 million people or less, has 2. China has 44, and so on and so forth. It lags significantly from rest of the world. Less than 0.5% students are enrolled in these premium institutions that we know, IITs, IIMs, and AIMS. There's such a severe shortage of excellent education system institutions that parents are spending $50 billion per year on private coaching to make sure their students get ahead, have a better chance of getting into these premium institutions, or sending their kids overseas for higher education. To give you a perspective on this $50 billion number, the total budget of Ministry of Human Resource Development dedicated to higher education is $5 billion. So parents are outspending the central government by 10x just so that the kid can get into higher education. The economic model is clearly off. Because of the severe drop in quality that happens in most colleges, universities in India, graduates coming out of these universities are considered unemployable. 75 to 90% are considered unemployable. This is today's news. If you look at the date, April 20th, a report that came out of Aspiring Minds that did some survey that 95% of engineers can't code properly. So it's getting worse, it's not getting better. As a result, the industry is investing 6 months to 12 months in corporate training to make these graduates ready for productive work. In a rather scathing indictment of the higher education system, just a few weeks back, HCL announced that it will start hiring students after 12th grade. Why bother with the college? If they still have to invest 6 to 12 months in training, might as well get them from after 12. It's actually a great business model. So India may be a first country in the world which has created a higher ROI to not go through college. Now, India has gross enrollment ratio around 23%. What that means is students in the 18 to 23 year category, just 23% are actually accessing higher education. In terms of, it sort of lags behind what's happening in the Western world or the developed nations. So Korea, Singapore at around 95 to 100% of gross enrollment ratio. Now one can wave any of these one single metric and explain it away. But if you look at all these metrics, it points towards a crisis in the higher education system. Now why does it matter? I mean, there's so many problems, water problem, energy problem, there are tons of problems in India. Why does this problem matter to us more so than any other problem? So as you know, India is a young nation of 1.3 billion people. Now 1.3 billion itself is a huge number. It's all of USA and all of Europe plus more, right? It's a big number. And it's very young. 50%, over 50% are less than 25 years old. 75% less than 40 years of age, right? That means just these numbers, preparing and educating these young men and women is the defining challenge and opportunity for India in the 21st century. Just that youth that's coming into the system and going through the education pipeline. Now, if I stopped here, that would be enough reason to just focus on higher education. But there's more. India is not only a young nation, but it faces mega challenges, several of them. Now, India has come a long way since independence. A lot of literacy and health metrics have improved. When British first took over India, India's share of GDP was about 24%. When they left, it was close to 4%. So compared to where how much we had dropped, we are sort of coming back up. A lot of positive news. But despite the progress we have made, we are facing tremendous challenges across multiple dimensions. These are really basic issues when you think about energy, food, water, entire list. And I'm not going to go into detail of any of these problems, just to highlight the fact that India faces these problems that are multidisciplinary in nature. It'll take a lot of experts doing a lot of research and innovation to solve these problems. And they're also interconnected. So if you lay the youth issue, the number of people we have, and how many we have to train and prepare for lives and careers in the next 35 to 50 years, and you overlay that with the mega challenges we're facing, what is the way out for a nation like this? Education is the key. Krish mentioned a quote which is relevant. It's really on target. Education is the key. I said higher education is the master key. So education is the key, higher education is the master key. I'll give you 3 slides to make the point. So first and foremost, it prepares higher education institute. By the way, higher education, just to get everybody on the same page, is everything that's post-secondary, so after 12. It's considered higher education, including vocational training schools, colleges, universities providing bachelor's, master's, PhD. They prepare the next generation of professionals and leaders. And people are the ones who power products, services, organization policies, and drive productivity. So if you think about colleges, universities, they're actually preparing teachers who go and teach in K through 12 system. And K through 12 system in India is also in trouble. But if you prepare the teachers at a much higher level, you can affect changes at the K through 12 level. There are also places where the next generation of faculty members are being prepared. And all of you are doing PhD or postdocs here, you know what I'm saying. You get that sort of training in both on the research innovation and making an impact from, that's what makes faculty members world class. They also prepare professionals in all sectors and government in all fields. So this says that, in fact, higher education system is the nerve center of the society. Everybody has to go through it to make a difference. Second, universities, a vibrant university like Berkeley, where you're part of, solve problems that matter to the society and the nation and the global humanity. and you're part of that system that's solving those problems. There are lots of examples, but I'm in Berkeley, so I'll give you one Berkeley example. Arthur Rosenfeld was a faculty in Berkeley. He was also a researcher in Lawrence Berkeley National Labs. He applied his expertise in energy policies and standards. And thanks to his groundbreaking work, California as a state uses 30% less energy than the rest of the United States. It is estimated that his work has contributed in saving $100 billion per year. Amazing impact, one faculty. Of course, there's a team of students and postdocs and PhDs in his team, but amazing leadership to solve a problem that matters. Just across the bay, and I'll give you an example, the third one is really spurring, universities can spur research innovation in a startup ecosystem. There are examples all around, but I'll give an example from Stanford, just across the bay. And according to the data, in 2014, they raised $1.33 billion in research grants and research funding that powered the research ecosystem within Stanford University. Huge amount. The technologies that they have developed, they've got $110 million in licensing revenue. And the startups started by Stanford faculty, Stanford alumni, Stanford students generate $2.7 trillion in annual revenues. Mind-boggling for one university alone. So if you think about the three things, preparing professionals in all sectors, solving problems that matter, and then spurring the research innovation in startup ecosystem, you get where I'm going with this. This is groundbreaking. This is what we need. This is what India needs to solve, to not only prepare the youth, but also to solve the mega challenges it has. The good news is we are a land of revolutions. We do well in crisis. We have solved whole kinds of crises when, the green revolution solved the food shortage, the white revolution solved the milk shortage, and then at the gunpoint of foreign exchange crisis, we had the 1991 economic liberalization. It's time for great revolution. A crisis in higher education demands a great revolution. What does that mean? It's urgent and comprehensive reforms. The time for Bandaid solutions is over. We have been tinkering around the edges for far too long. The model we have adopted in the nation hasn't changed in the last 60 years since the setup of IITs, IIMs, and AIMS, and a few small things that we have changed since then. Now, there are 5 big ideas that can transform and make India's higher education system world-class. First, we have to build 50 to 100 world-class multidisciplinary research universities. Now, why does that matter? Now, the examples of Berkeley and Stanford hopefully give you enough information that India does need to raise its bar on research, bar on innovation, bar on startups. These 50 to 100 world-class multidisciplinary research universities will be the place where the future generations of faculty members, teachers, researchers, entrepreneurs will be prepared. They will be the intellectual hub for research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. In locations and regions where they will be established, they will become the place that really has an impact on the regional economy as well. They also make sense from a student learning point of view. When I say multidisciplinary, why is it multidisciplinary so important? It's great for student learning. Not just mechanical engineers working with civil engineers or computer scientists, but it's about public policy, working with economists, working with business, working with engineers, working with lawyers to come up with a solution that can actually address a serious problem for the society. It's a great learning opportunity. It provides multiple pathways for students to learn. And a lot of the research is happening at the intersection of disciplines. Having these centers of higher education that are world-class and multidisciplinary actually will provide the necessary horsepower for India to solve its own problem within the Indian context and not have to be so dependent on foreign technology or foreign solutions. It also makes sense from a economies of scale and economies of scope. Did you know if you go to IIM Calcutta or go to any of the IITs, the space they have is more than Berkeley campus. So IIM Calcutta actually teaches about 2,000, 3,000, give it maybe 4,000 students max. I think it's around 2,000. But it has a campus bigger than UC Berkeley, which has 30,000, 35,000 students, right? Just think of the leverage on this land. Of course, there's economies of scale. You don't, a lot of things get overlap. You don't, in IITs, they're hiring not only faculty in engineering, but they have to have some arts and humanities faculty. So there's a lot of duplication of hiring. IIMs will have some technology folks. So if you had a world-class multidisciplinary research universities, you have your engineering, which has the best engineering faculty. You have management, you have the best management faculty. You have the law department, which is the best law faculty. So you don't have to duplicate resources. Same thing with equipment. Research infrastructure is really expensive, as you know. By having these in one place, it's economically more efficient model to have it as one world multidisciplinary research university. We need to establish California-like master plan for each state. Now, why is that important? Or what is California master plan? Does everybody know what California master plan is? No. So in 1960s, California established the master plan, the first of its kind in the United States. And it's basically a three-model college system. One is community colleges. Other one is California State Universities, the San Jose State or the Cal Poly. And third is the UC system. And the objective of this three-model system was to provide universal access to excellent education. So it's actually true. Anybody who wants to study after 12th class without giving an exam, without doing any further coaching, can go to any of the community colleges and get enrolled. But that's not enough. After 2 years of doing, you have to do well, you can then apply and transfer your credits to a CSU or a CUC. You have to still be accepted, but you can actually transfer. So a student finishing 2 years in community college, let's say De Anza College, can then come and if they get accepted to Berkeley or San Jose State or any place, they start in the third year. So the 2 years are actually productive work, recognized as equivalent to what Berkeley first year and second year students would be studying. So from a student point of view, it's a great opportunity for them to have multiple pathways. Not everybody blooms at the same time. That's a reality. Not everybody is ready to take that entrance examination the same after 12. In fact, a few years back when I was working in Berkeley, the highest award given to an outgoing undergraduate in Berkeley, I'm forgetting the medal, I think it's called the University Medalist, was actually a transfer student from a community college at the age of 27 graduating from Berkeley. That is unimaginable in Indian context. If you don't pass certain entrance exams in a certain time, you're done. And if you got into ITI, the vocational training, you don't have a pathway to IIT or to another engineering colleges, because the kind of learning you have in ITI, you are stuck doing machine work or lathe work or foundry work. So the advantage of the California Master Plan is not only from a student point of view, it provides flexibility to access higher education, the multiple points of view from multiple points, but it's universal access. The other one it does is it recognizes the research infrastructure is very, very expensive. You can't have 25 UCs. But it says we can have 10 or 11 UCs and fund them at the right level. That's the research infrastructure. The UCs are the only PhD granting universities in the California system. CSUs are masters in that undergraduate only. And of course, community college is the 2-year program, so 12 plus 2. So either you get enough credits to move into UC or CSU, or you get vocational training that you can actually get a job after that. So a lot of the nurses, firefighters, all of those are getting 2 years vocational degrees into the respective fields. It's a really powerful system. It was so successful that all states have adopted one version of the master plan. In India, nothing like this exists. We need to eliminate British Raj rules, regulations, and mindset. I mean, there is no explanation after 70 years that we still have what British left us with. And this is a subject in itself. So I'll give you just one example what I mean by British legacy or that we still hold. So when they were ruling us, they had a rule that you would only get a government job in the British Raj if you went through education in a British approved college. Made sense? I mean, they wanted to control who becomes the intermediary, so they wanted to control the kind of training you would necessarily have, so you can be the intermediary between them and the rest of the country, right? Made perfect sense. But do you know we still use that philosophy and rule? So you have, in order to get into Indian government job, you have to be studying in a UGC and AICTE approved college. It doesn't matter on merit. So if you didn't go to an approved, AICTE or UGC approved, too bad. So we have a lot of those that we need to get rid of. We need to leverage MOOCs, which is massive open online courses and learning and innovation that's happening around the world in this field. Because this offers the best chance that India has to provide excellent education in a timely manner to a large number of people. And most of you have had probably heard about MOOCs. I won't go into MOOCs. But to say, we actually wrote a couple of articles from Nalanda 2.0 on MOOCs recently. Just to give you an idea, this may be relevant if you ever go to MHRD. It is a disorganized platform currently run in India. There are 5 or 6 different bodies that have a say on how it's run, what goes into it, and how it's managed. So IITs are involved, UGC is involved, AICTE is involved, and IGNOU is involved. And when you have 5, 6 cooks, you can imagine what's happening in that system. Even though NPTEL started several years back and was largely successful, they have not capitalized on that success. And right now we still only offer 250 courses. And the budget 2017 that was released a few months back, the aspiration was to add another 100. So by the end of next year, we'll have 350. Now, if you think about the opportunities that MOOCs provide, why can't we have 1,000 courses on that? What's stopping India from having 1,000 plus courses that provide the kind of education that the youth needs? All at excellence. So you get the best faculty from around the nation, all around the world to teach, use the platform provided to students everywhere. So there's a lot of opportunity to get this thing right. We are still missing the boat in how to leverage this better. But there's a huge opportunity for us at a very modest cost. This doesn't cost too much. Finally, we have to transform the incentives and accountability system for faculty members. As you all know, faculty is what makes a university great. Location does count, but it's the faculty. The campus may look good, but again, it's the faculty. The reason you chose Berkeley for one reason or other has to do with the expertise the faculty has here that you wanted to participate in. And it's not a secret, it's a well-established formula for success for all world-class research universities. Great, get the best and the brightest talent to be the faculty members. They will attract the best and the brightest students. And you have the recipe for just getting better and better and better. But our accountability and incentive system is such that it's actually discouraging for the brightest talent to actually go to Indian higher education system. So if you look at incentives, for instance, if you join as assistant professor and you retire as a professor, the salary is a 50% delta, 1.5x. So imagine how attractive that is. Let's say industry might be 10x or 20x or 30x. Just depends on your merit. Depends on your performance. Depends on In fact, in Berkeley, when I was working, and there are probably enough examples from around the world, there was a full professor in the College of Engineering who was 27 years old. Can you imagine a 27-year-old full professor in India? This was pure merit because he was being heavily sought after. He was that good. He was full professor. There's also an accountability system issue. In India right now, you can be a tenured faculty after 1 year. No question. If you didn't break a law, you didn't make your boss angry, you would go from probation to tenure in 1 year. We need to change that because there needs to be better incentives and better accountability. You're very fortunate. You're very fortunate because you've studied in better institutions in India. And now you've earned the right to be in Berkeley, which is a premier research university in the world. You've seen the difference between what's happening in India and what's happening here. It's on us to make demand change and ask change to happen, or do our part in making the change happen. I'm inspired by this quote from Margaret Mead. And as a result of this quote, actually, last year, a non-profit think tank called Nalanda 2.0. Of course, we are inspired by Nalanda from 1400 years back, which was a world-renowned university. In fact, scholars from all over the world would come to Nalanda to study. It had 1,500 faculty, 10,000 students. It was at scale and scope that actually is not yet matched by any university in India right now. We aim to make the India's higher education system world-class. We're informed by my book. There's a Berkeley angle here, besides my experience. Randy Sheckman, who is a professor of molecular and cell biology and Nobel laureate, he presented my book to Prime Minister Modi earlier this year. So that was a nice bonus, an endorsement from a Nobel laureate here. We are powered by a dedicated group of individuals from around the world. We have a founding team and a core team. We have a global advisory board, and we have a growing list of friends who are following us on Twitter and Facebook. We're doing a lot of things to inform and educate stakeholders and policymakers. We're conducting research, writing articles and blogs, making presentations like this, and collaborating with like-minded organizations, and we will advise governments as the time approaches, and universities and corporations. You can help us, you can contribute, you can share, you can follow what we are doing. But even if you don't do this as part of Nalanda 2.0, do it on your own. This is a shared problem. This is a problem that affects the entire country and has a huge upside if we can make India's higher education world class. So if you have connections back home, if you have friends back home who are connected with the chief ministers or prime ministers or whoever can influence change, do it. But if you want to be part of our team, let us know. And we can talk about this more later. If we make our higher education system world class, I guarantee by 2047, after we have made that world class, we can finally make India a golden India. A golden India where finally we realize the dreams and aspirations of founding fathers like Gandhi, Nehru, Patel, Ambedkar, and Tagore, where the country and the countryside are prosperous, people are healthy, environment and economy are sustainable and vibrant, people are peaceful, and the nation is united. Equally importantly, where the mind is without fear, where values like excellence and meritocracy are rewarded, recognized, and valued, where university-industry collaborations are robust, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship ecosystem is thriving. But most importantly, and by the way, also we are attracting the best and the brightest minds to be faculty members in universities and teachers in schools. But finally, it's not just golden for a few, it's golden for all its people. Thank you.